Let's keep moving our discussion about least square regression lines. You do need to realize that in most cases, no line will actually pass through all your points in a scatter plot. So this is just a prediction line. Because we use the line to make predictions, there's going to be errors. A good regression line makes the vertical distances of the points from the line as small as possible. A residual is the difference between an observed value of a response variable and the value predicted by the regression line. That is, the residual equals the observed value minus the predicted value. We use the letter E for residual. So residual is this E here. Observed Y is this Y here. And predicted Y, and once again, I just noticed a little typo. The predicted Y should have a hat above it. So we're going to find and interpret the residual for Taishan's weight at 158 days old. Going back to our table on the first page, we can see that at 158 days old, Taishan weighed 36.6 pounds. So that is our actual, we're observing it. We can see that's the weight. So that's going to be our value of Y. To find Y hat, our predicted value, we're going to use our equation that we have from before. So this is going to be 13.7 plus 0.127. And then you can also see that we're going to substitute for X, the 158, and that will give us 33.766 pounds. To find our residual or our E value from our formula above, we take our actual value, so the 36.6 minus the predicted value, 33.766, and that will give us 2.834 pounds. Now don't forget that the actual problem asked us not only to find it, but to interpret it. So Taishan's observed weight is 2.843 pounds above his predicted weight. If this had been a negative number, we would say below his predicted weight. Sorry, I had to shove that all in there and had to cramp it a bit to get it all in. If we were to calculate all of the residuals for Taishan's data based on its regression line, we would see that most of them were small. Now, hopefully you remember that we did say that we thought 158 days, that value was a potential outlier. And even though I don't have all of the residuals right now, I can tell you that they would all be much smaller than this. So that would support the fact that we thought this might have been an outlier because it's quite a bit above the line. Now, just trust me that if we did calculate all of the rest of the residuals, they would be very small. And what that tells us about the regression line is that just basically it's a good fit for the data. But actually the best way to find a fit for your data is by doing a least squares regression of X and Y is the line that makes the sum of the squared residuals as small as possible. And we'll do an activity in class that will help you see what a least squares regression is and why it makes our line a best fit. All right, so let's move on to some more formulas. We have data on an explanatory variable X and Y for a response variable for however number of individuals. We can actually take the data that we have, the mean of the X values and the mean of the Y values we saw the other day, how to find those using two variable statistics, as well as their standard deviations, and also your correlation. So you can actually find your slope, B, by taking your correlation times the quotient of the two standard deviations. Notice Y is on top, which makes sense. That's a slope. That's your rise over your run. And then your y-intercept is, once you find your b-value, you can put it into this formula right here. I also did notice a typo. I think what happened was when I changed this to a PDF, we lost all of our hats. So we should have the hat on that formula. Let's talk about the residual plot next. So a residual plot is it's a scatter plot of all of the residuals against the explanatory variable. Residual plots help us assess and really kind of focus and blow up what we're seeing on our regression line. So what they literally do is they calculate the distance of each one of these points away from the line, and then it blows it up over here. So it took these three and it just exaggerates all of those distances so we get a clearer picture. There are two things you want to look for in your residual plot. We want to see no obvious pattern. This confirms that it is a linear pattern, and I showed you what would happen if we had a quadratic pattern. It would look quadratic. It would look like it has a shape. The second thing is that the residuals themselves should be very small or relatively small in size. So what I'm seeing over here is that down here we don't really below the line have anything much further than 1 pound. And then here for the most part there's no points much more than half a pound except for this extreme outlier. And you can see that this line is not resistant to that outlier. It actually got pulled towards it because I don't have as many values above the line as I do below the line. So Taishan's residual plot does indicate a good linear fit because of the two reasons. First, there is no obvious pattern to the residual plot. When I look at this residual plot, I really don't see a pattern. There's no shape. Don't go looking for a shape. Just do a general, if you don't see any shape right away, don't go hunting. Don't go, hey, this kind of looks like a sine curve. No, it's good. It's very obvious when it does have a shape. So don't go hunting for one. So relatively most of the residuals are small, considering it's a panda. It's going to be growing a lot. 1 pound residuals are not that large. The next two concepts that I'm going to explain are probably the most difficult in this chapter. So the first one is the standard deviation of the residuals. We do have a formula here for them. You don't need to worry about this formula. I don't think I've ever seen it used on the AP exam except for maybe once. One time I think I saw it in an AP question. So if you're feeling good, you're going to have this formula on the formula sheet just in case you do need it. So what the standard deviation of the residuals is, it's the value that gives the approximate size or typical average prediction error of the residuals. So it's really just the standard deviation, literally, of the residuals. So what does that mean in English? So I tried to get it in plainer English, but when using a least squares regression line to predict a response variable based on a given explanatory variable, you will usually be off by S units. So in our Taishan example, we were off on our residual, but we can actually average that out to get the standard deviation of our residuals. This next value is probably the most difficult to really get a good grasp on, but it's got the best name, I believe. This is known as the coefficient of determination. It's just very determined. So it's also known as our R square value, or just R squared. So it just depends. If you're looking at a computer program, you might see the RSQ. Really, we're going to use the R squared. So basically, it's calculated below. Once again, it's very, very rare that you actually need to do this calculation, and it will be given to you on the formula sheet. What this is talking about here, the SSE, is the sum of the residuals, or we could say the sum of E squared, because that's our variable for E. And then our SST is the sum of our deviations of Y. So this is sum of the Y value deviations. So it's been a while since we calculated deviations, but it's given to you there in the formula. Oh, and it should say sum of Y deviations squared. What is very important is that you know this sentence. So this would fall into the memorize category. So R squared percent. So you're going to get this value as a decimal. You want to change it to a percent. R squared percent of the variation in the response variable is accounted for by the regression line. A very, very, very simplified explanation of what this R squared value is, that it's telling us what percent of the actual values will be on this line. So the better the line of fit, the more close the points are to our actual line, the higher that R squared value. Also realize that is the square of R, our correlation coefficient. Very often in AP statistics, you are going to be asked to read a computer output very similar to this one. It might be in a different order, but you only need to be able to find 5 things from this readout. The first thing you'll need to find is R squared. So R squared is right here. This one's pretty easy to find. Sometimes it will just be listed as RSQ. So we can see that that is 67.8%, or sometimes you will need to change that to a decimal point 678. Next is our standard error. Standard error is going to be your S. Please remember that is the standard deviation of the residuals, not the standard deviation of either our X or our Y value. So we can see that that is 4.713. Next is our value of R. And if you take a look here, you're not going to see R anywhere on here. There's no R. But remember R squared? So we are going to take the square root of R squared in order to find R. So our R value is 0.823, which tells us that we have a strong linear correlation. Next are the hardest two to find, in my opinion, the slope. The slope is right here. It is always with the explanatory variable. It's called the coefficient because it will be multiplied to your explanatory variable. And finally, the y-intercept. It's right here. It's always a constant. If we think about our linear equations, that will always be your constant. To put this together in a regression equation, it's going to look like this. Y hat is going to equal the y-intercept first, so you always put that a value first, so negative 42.734, positive slope, so plus 1.70, times x. Sometimes you'll see that written in words as well, where our x hat might say body fat here, and the x would be replaced with the word waist size or waist. One final thing that's really important, and it did not come out on this readout, is that the slope also tells us the sign of our R value. So since we had to find R based on our R squared, it's not going to give us a positive or negative number. You have to look at the slope to see whether R is positive or negative, because remember, your correlation coefficient also tells you the direction of your correlation, not just the strength. The slope would also go in the same direction of that correlation. And finally, we've already talked about outliers. So we kind of understand that that's going to be something that's very extreme, has a large residual. But there is another kind of outlier. It's a sort of outlier that may not have a large residual. So this point is called influential. For statistical calculation, if removing it would markedly change the result of the calculation. Points that are outliers in the x direction. So an outlier in the x direction, this is going to give you a small residual, are often influential for the least squares regression line. So I'm going to try to sketch an example, and then we'll be finally done with this video. This example, I've done an initial, just a random scatter plot. If I were to do a regression line, it might look something like this. So we're talking about an outlier in the x direction. I'm going to add just an extra point up here in the x direction. So you might think that right now looks like a outlier with a large residual. Now that would be true if the blue line were actually my regression line, and it's not. If I take away that blue line away from all of those little black points, you can see now that that green line is completely changing where my regression might go. So now we can see that my new regression line is really being affected by that single green point, because it's so far away in the x direction that it actually reduced the slope. And if we take a look, the residuals there are very similar to that other point. So that's what it's talking about, is sometimes something that's so extreme, so far out of our other observations, that could also be considered an influential point, not necessarily called an outlier.